increases amplitude of vibration. In other words, when you're concentrating, you're sending a powerful charge of energy toward your goal. It's mind power. Your imagination, Sandy talked about sitting in every room and living in that room. I told her, I said, ask the agent to leave the house. And then go and sit in that room as if you own it. And mentally live in that room. Now, what was she doing? She was creating cells of recognition for the emotional attachment to a particular room. All those emotional attachments were tucked into cells in her brain, went from one room to another to another. And you know, then, just bang, like that, she could bring that whole thing back into her consciousness in a heartbeat. In a millisecond, all those could be connected, all those cells. Think of all the lights in the room. You throw one switch, whoo, they all go on. They're all wired together. That's the way your brain works. Your brain cells are all wired together. And when you go and live in each room and you get mentally attached to that room, you are creating cells of recognition for every room in that house. And then you could be sitting out in the middle of the desert. You could be on a plane or on a busy streetcar and mentally let yourself relax, and you could go back in that house and you'd experience everything you'd experience. You talk about memory. There's no such thing as a bad memory. Jerry Lucas was up in San Francisco years ago teaching people to memorize the Bible. We had a psychiatrist come over from Saudi Arabia for the Matrix seminar. He was teaching people to memorize the Quran. Well, people think memorize the Quran, memorize the Bible. Some people can't even conceive reading it. There's no such thing as a bad memory. There's only weak memories. Memory, perception, imagination, they're like muscles in the body. You strengthen them by exercising them. And if you don't, you'll lose them. The intuition, you walk by a person, you can pick up their energy. When you're working with another person or talking to another person, put all of your energy on that person. Just let yourself be involved emotionally with that person. You will feel their energy. If there's a shift in their consciousness, you'll feel that. If you're in sales and you're making a presentation, you want to give all your attention to your prospect. And you're going to find that as the prospect's mind shifts, you'll feel it. Now, there's many people that are selling, and they'll have a sale almost just ready to close. Like that, they lose it. What happened? The prospect shifted their thinking. They've taken their mind somewhere else. You got to work at getting that back. You'll feel it. Intuition works in the form of feeling. You pick up the energy, and you can read it just like a book. We hide nothing. Everything's going on the inside, shows on the outside. Well, most people don't understand that, but that's the way it is. And then you have reason. And you see, the intellect is used to alter the old paradigms. Now, the problem is we're not taught these things. See, we go through school, and this is the way we're taught. We're taught to use our senses. We're not taught to use our higher faculties. Why wouldn't people? In fact, they even leave you with the idea that there isn't any such thing as intuition. They say, oh, that's that. They're psychic. Well, of course it's psychic. Psyche is the Greek word for mind, and you're using your mind. It was a gift you were given. We should use it. We should learn how to use it. Now look, there's a power flowing into our consciousness. When that power flows into our consciousness, we have thoughts flowing in. And we let those thoughts flow into our consciousness, and we turn them over to our subconscious, but we also send those thoughts out into the universe. See, thought energy goes two ways. It goes inside and it goes out. You can't stop your thoughts from going out. You can feel the other person's thoughts. Now, those thoughts are not whatever's impressed. They're going to be expressed in feelings. You're going to send those to the body, and you're also going to send them out into the universe. What's come down into the body causes the body to move out and act. Now, back it up and think what we're doing here. There you are. There's a power flowing into your consciousness, and right now as I'm talking, simultaneously with me talking is happening. And you build thoughts or ideas in your mind. You not only impress them upon your subjective mind, you send those thoughts out into the universe. Now, whatever you send out is coming back. I think it was George Bernard Shaw said that the law of cause and effect is the law of laws. You not only send it out, it comes back in equal measure, equal and opposite measure. So then you impress it upon the subconscious. That not only affects the body, but you send it out into the universe. Now that's sending a message from the heart, because the heart's in the subjective mind. The body moves into that vibration, it causes that to act. Now what we have here is 1, 2, 3. That is called attitude. Attitude is the composite of the thoughts, the feelings, and actions. Attitude's everything. That is the most important subject you'll ever find. You can take a person with a good attitude. They may be lacking in all kinds of areas. The good attitude will make up for it. A good attitude stands out like a brilliant light on a dark night. You're going to hear from a lady a little later on. She was up here earlier. And Mikey Stellar has probably one of the best attitudes in our company. She's always a pleasure to deal with. Her attitude is really up there all the time. And everybody notices it. It's not something that you can hide. It's so evident. She just has a phenomenal attitude. Well, that makes such a big difference. Now, I mentioned something, she's going to be up here. Let me finish with that. I'll just digress here for a second. We're going to be finished at about 5 o'clock. We're going to take about a 15-minute break, and then we're going to have a panel of 4 people, and they're going to explain the various programs that we run. These are people that are in these programs that work with us, that are in charge of it. So if you want to find out what we do, what our business is all about, we operate all over the world. The business has been around for a long, long time, and we do incredible work. We've done phenomenal work for some of the biggest companies in the world. So if you want to find out what those programs are like, what they're about, it'll probably be about a 30-minute meeting, something like that, maybe go 40 minutes. Mikey Stellar is going to run the meeting. We're going to have 4 people from our company in charge of various parts of the company that will explain the various programs. So that's going to happen at 5 o'clock. We will break about 10 to or something like that. We'll take about a 10-minute break. Those of you who don't care to come, you can leave if you have places to go or things to do. Others, if you can stick around, and then we'll do the meeting. All right? Now, this subject here, though, is everything. Attitude, Earl Nightingale called it the magic word, and without question, it is truly the magic word. So attitude isn't something you can hide. Attitude is something that is so obvious. Did you know the strange part about this? When a person has a bad attitude, they're the last one to know it. It's true. They're the last person to know they got a bad attitude. It's always something or someone else. Never them. Now, the energy coming from them, it's pretty heavy. Not good. Now, let's deal with upside down and inside out. Now, let's take a look at this. This is something that I had a professor from Dalhousie University one time in Toronto, years ago. He said, I never understood this, and I've been teaching it for years. I said, well, how in the hell could you teach it if you didn't understand it? Well, he said, they didn't know. I'll never forget that. So, we're over now on page 31, 32, 33, 30, 31, 32, and 33, I guess. Yeah. So let's run through this. Well, look at the conscious mind is our reasoning mind. The subconscious is the emotional mind, and of course the body is the instrument of the mind. Now, the subconscious mind reasons deductively. The conscious mind reasons inductively and deductively. So what do we mean by that? The conscious mind will reason inductively or deductively. The subconscious is totally deductive. Let's take a look at what we mean. Inductive reasoning is where you take individual thoughts and you pull those thoughts together. This is thinking, and you arrive at an idea. That's a form of inductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning is where you start with the idea and you carry it out to its natural conclusion. It expresses itself. Okay? You see the difference? Now, the subjective mind is totally deductive. Whatever you put in there, it's accepted. No question, is it real? Will it serve me? None of that. Now, what happens when the inductive reasoning factor is not working? When you shut down the inductive reasoning factor, you know what you do? You leave your mind wide open. That's the way it is. Subconscious mind is wide open. And you know what happens? You get emotionally involved with whatever comes down the pipe. That happens on television. As a matter of fact, that is the basis of all advertising. Suggestion is one of the most powerful forces there is. They will get you totally involved. How do you set down a person's inductive reasoning factor? One of three ways: fascination, agreement, and shock. Fascination, agreement, or shock. What's television use? Use them all. You'll see somebody, they're just going to get shot. The person got a gun, right? And the person that's getting shot doesn't see it. The gun's behind them. And you're sitting right at the edge of their seat, and you got your heart going. This is a television show, and you got you all jazzed up. And so you're sitting there, and all of a sudden, boom, a commercial comes on. What happened? They shut your thinking down, opened your mind up, and then whatever comes down the pipe goes right into the subconscious mind. And it's, of course, acted on. Boom, boom. Nothing. Subconscious mind accepts anything. And the body automatically expresses it. See, the subconscious is in every cell of our being. Now, do you know that that's happening to people almost all the time, every day? When you react to something, that's what happened. Your mind was open, and they fired an idea in, and boom, you react. Who's in charge of you when that happens? The other person, the other situation. Phil and I we were talking here a while ago. Phil has a very serious situation. He'll phone me up about it. We'll talk a little bit about it. Kicks it out of his mind. Why? Well, he understands what's going on here. Okay? Let's back this up a bit. Well, let's think. You got a better idea of how it works. Now, the conscious mind can reason. The subconscious is the emotional mind. But what we want to understand, subconscious mind is totally deductive. It has no ability to reject. By that we mean it is like the earth. It is totally deductive. It can only accept. The subconscious, it reasons, but it reasons both ways, inductively and deductively. So when you're not thinking, you're leaving yourself wide open to whatever's going on. I'll tell you, you just stand on a corner and look up like that. Before too long, everybody on that corner is looking up. What the hell are they doing that for? Or let's suppose somebody yawns. Have you ever noticed that you yawn? Yeah. They shot a yawn right into your subconscious mind. You say, well, it doesn't work like that. All the time it does. Now, inductive reasoning is where we think. We take individual thoughts, we pull them together, and we bring them together into an idea. Deductive reasoning is where you start with the idea. I think this, I think that, I think this, I think that, therefore I arrive at this idea. A deductive idea, I'm going home, go home. So now you got the idea, what do? You get out of your chair, you go find your car, you get your keys, you go on the highway, and you're home. You do everything that has to be done to execute that idea. Now, when you're not thinking, that thinking shuts down very easy through fascination, agreement, or shock. When you're not thinking, you leave your conscious mind wide open. You're like a brand new baby. And whatever is going on comes right into your subconscious mind you're emotionally involved with. See, a person that's not thinking is leaving themselves in a very, very bad place. And most people don't think. They become the product of their environment. So whatever's going on comes right into their subconscious mind and boom, automatically. See, when you impress something upon the subconscious, your body automatically moves into that vibration. The body can only do what you tell the subconscious mind for it to do. There's how the baby's born. That's how the baby enters the world. They're totally begotten. The food that you like, that's probably where you got to like it. You didn't have the ability to think. No inductive reasoning capacity with a little baby. And everything that's going on around, all the talk, we find people spelling to each other so the kid won't get it. Such a dumb idea. You're transmitting the ideas right into their subjective mind. And transmission is the right word. You're consciously thinking, you're projecting those ideas. Now that happened to you. There's a good book, How to Multiply Your Baby's Intelligence. Everybody should have it. How to Multiply Your Baby's Intelligence, written by a man named Glenn Doman. D-O-M-A-N, I believe it is. Glenn Doman was a physiotherapist, but he was befriended by Vincent Fay, who was one of the first neurosurgeons to ever operate on a live brain. We haven't been operating on live brains for very long, maybe 60 years, something like that. Prior to that, we just operated on the brains out of a cadaver. We didn't really know too much. We still don't know that much, I don't think. But at any rate, Vincent Fay used to let Doman come in and watch him. And he became fascinated with the brain. Now here's an interesting thing. We often hear people that we say they're mentally retarded. There is no such thing. That is a misnomer. The mind cannot be damaged, ever. Mind is perfect. There's brain damage. And we're finding that we have so many healthy brain cells that aren't being used. You can educate healthy cells to do what the damaged cells can no longer do. And this is happening all the time. I remember after the Second World War, my father's father came to visit with us, my grandfather, and he stayed with us for a while, and he had had a stroke. And one side of his body was paralyzed. He sort of hung his arm and dragged his leg. And that's the way it was for all the time I knew him. Well, today they're finding that if we take somebody that's had a stroke, and let's say we take their hand and we open, close it, we lift their arm up and down, up and down, up and down, and we do the same with their leg, and we physically move it, we will educate healthy cells to do what the damaged cells can no longer do. And pretty soon, the person will have the use of their limbs back. It's called patterning. Well, there's been all kinds of changes made because we educate healthy cells to do what the damaged cells can no longer do. But not a lot of people believe what I'm telling you. Although there's sufficient evidence around today that we should all believe it because it's very real. But most people don't understand. And we just accept the idea that they're mentally retarded. Well, the mind is perfect. And the mind is all powerful. James Allen put it very well. He said in a little book, As a Man Thinketh, which is a classic, I mean, it's just a phenomenal book. He said, mind is the master power that molds and makes. And man is mind. Yet evermore he takes the tool of thought and shaping what he wills, brings forth 1,000 joys or 1,000 ills. We think in secret, and it comes to pass. Environment is but our looking glass. Whatever's going on the inside shows the outside. Now, we get back into this and we start thinking about it, and we got to go, what do you really want? Yet so easy, even after we gather some of this, to still think of why we can't have it. We haven't been at it long enough. We don't know enough. We don't know the right people. Joe was telling me a situation he'd been working on for about 6 months. And he said, today he just decided, the last day or so, he just decided he was going to have the president of this company phone him and say, we're going ahead with that series. They're going to phone me. I put that idea in his mind. He's in his room, the guy phoned him. Said, we're going to go ahead with the series. Happens all the time. I tell salespeople, if you're working on an account or on a big account, put them on a 3x5 card and mentally sit and see yourself with that person, see them going ahead, see everything happen as you want it to happen. You're putting that energy out into a deductive universe. It will accept it. You know our problem? We're waiting for signals of now's the time. Well, now is the time. It's always now. What do you really want? That doesn't matter, can you have it? You can have anything you want. That's what you want. But you've got to really want it. You see, if you don't really want it, you won't do what you have to do to get it. Now, the first thing you have to do is make a decision. Just bang. That's it. Why did those people, why did I read where those all the successful people made decisions very fast, changed them very slow, if and when they changed them at all? I have started all kinds of companies. I've done all kinds of things. I have never in my life written a business plan. Now, Hill tells you right in the book. If the first plan doesn't work, create another one. Create another one. Why? He said, you never change the goal, you just change the plan. I don't have to sit down and write a business plan, spend my whole life doing something that I've never trained myself to do. I just get the picture, I go to work. And what do you do when things get tough? Because they do get tough. Well, there's a quote by Dean Briggs. I burnt it into my mind. Whenever things get tough, I go to work. I just go to work. Briggs says, do your work. Not just your working no more, but a little more for the lavishing sake. That little more, which is worth all the rest. And if you suffer as you must, and you doubt as you must, do your work. Put your heart into it, and the sky will clear, and out of your very doubt and suffering will be born the supreme joy of life. That happens every time. See, we make mistakes because we don't know how to do it. But not knowing how to do it didn't prevent us from doing it. You don't have to know. In fact, if you know how to do it, you're probably going sideways. You're doing something you've already done before. What the hell's that? There's no growth in that. Yeah, you may have already done it once before. It doesn't matter. You did it. You've already done it. Move on. Get after something bigger. Go after something that's much more satisfying, more beneficial to you and everyone that's going to serve. But you've got to have guts. If you don't have guts, you don't deserve to win. You got to bet on yourself. What if you lose? Who cares? Start over. Like I said earlier, if the loss is big enough, it can be accelerated. I've had some huge losses. Never even slowed me down because I just know I lost because I've never done that before. The hell, you're going to make mistakes. Just step out, though. But you've got to bet on you. See, that's where the decision-making comes in. When you say, well, I don't know where the money's coming. You don't have to know where the money's coming from. You don't have to know where the help's coming from. You don't have to know where any of that stuff's coming. You just have to know you're going to do it. Then you've got to really bet on yourself. And it can become a little scary at times. That's why it's so vitally important you mix with the right people. That's why we created the entrepreneurial marketplace. So you can be mixing. You could be by yourself in some remote place. If you can get online, you're never alone. You'll be connected with people just like in this room from all over the world. And you're going to find you've got a lot in common with the people over in Kuwait or people in Singapore or people down in Buenos Aires because we're all thinking the same way. Yeah, we're all going to the same place. We're going where we've never been. So you're mixing with people that understand this and you understand them. And they understand you. You got to get together with people that are doing this. Your next door neighbor doesn't have any idea what the hell you're doing. You listen to them, oh, that'll never work, as long as he has another beer. Come on. You go to your brother-in-law, your uncle. What do they know? They don't know. They don't even know they don't know. I watched our whole family. Everybody in our family changed. Our immediate family. Brothers, sisters. And I watched other parts of the family. It's like, time stopped. They do nothing. And they think we're lucky. See, when a person's winning, person losing thinks the winner's lucky. They got the breaks. It's like Napoleon Hill said. Somebody said, what about the breaks? He said, I got a break when I met Carnegie. That's true. But he said, what about the 25 years of sacrifice, of research, that really difficult work to put all this together? That wasn't any break. You're going to have to pay for it, but you're going to find out it pays in a big way. It really does. So you ask yourself, what do you really want? And then you got to control the flow. And you control it. Or you don't control it, one or the other. You can let this energy flow freely. Don't let it get hung up. You know what doubt does? Wow, cuts it off. You know what fear does? It kills it. You got to control the flow of the thought energy. Let it flow freely to and through you, improving everything that it connects with. All you ever have to do is just look for opportunities of helping whoever, doesn't matter who it is. Our responsibility is to keep it flowing and doing good. And you know something? The universe will send it all back. It comes back sometimes so fast it'll make your head spin. And it just keeps getting better. See, we operate with a consciousness, a poverty consciousness. We operate with lack and limitation. We're not really out there making it happen. You know? I was down in Pensacola. Linda's dad was dying, and anyway, we were down there, and we stayed in this little hotel, and it was before, just not far before Christmas. And I left $100 tip for the maid in the room. The room was hardly worth $100. But anyway, I got a note back from when we went back. There was a note in the room thanking me, telling me what a different Christmas it would be for her kids. Well, I mean, that was my $100 worth coming back in spades. You know, there's little things you can do that can change lives. Sometimes just a kind word at the right time, that's controlling the flow. It's coming to and through you. It's your responsibility to use this properly. Use it effectively. Improve the quality of life. Spirit, remember, is always for expansion and fuller expression, never for disintegration. Never for disintegration. Always for expansion and fuller expression. Well, when we really understand this, then controlling the flow becomes almost like a game. That's the way I treat it every day. It's a game. It's so much fun. I enjoy it all day. I talk to Phil off and on all the time. That's the way we treat it. It's a game. And you can fall in love with the game. Just send it all in, and it all comes back. You don't have to wonder what you're going to get. You're going to get everything you need. You'll get everything you'll ever need if you just focus on controlling the flow and what you can give. That's the way it works. See, when it comes into your consciousness, you can use it one way or another. One way or another. But I'm going to tell you this. Once you've made the choice, you've cut the path, that's the way it's going to go. Now, you have a choice. Those two symbols represent the law of polarity. The law of polarity decrees. Everything is an opposite. Everything is an opposite. I like the way Ralph Waldo Trine wrote it. He said, nothing is good or bad except our thinking makes it so. Everything just is. We make it what it is. It comes to and through us. Now look at it. On one side is ignorance, and the other side is knowledge. I want you to really think about this. When that power flows in, you can choose whatever you want. If you choose to look at the bank account and realize there's not enough money there to do what we have to do, if we don't get it, we're not going to be able to pay the mortgage. If we don't get it, the phone will be cut off. If we don't get it, and then what do we do? We don't worry. We took a power that had no form, and we gave it form. Don't worry are psychic diseases. It's an intellectual game that we're playing with ourselves. I'll tell you a good story. I had an uncle. He had a cleaning business. And he had all kinds of cleaners. And this is when there was no online. So everything was by mail. And I think I was living out here. Anyway, I was in Toronto, and I was in his home, and he was like a bear. I mean, he was nasty man to be around. He was a very unhappy guy. There was a mail strike was threatening. If the post office went on mail, the checks wouldn't come in, but the cleaners had to be paid. And he was in such a bad mood. They hadn't gone on strike. There was just talk about them going on strike. And so I said, what the hell's the matter? Why you got such a rotten attitude? Well, he says, okay for you. If they go on strike, I won't be able to pay. I said, how much does it cost you? He said, it'll be about $10,000. I took a checkbook out of my case and I gave him a check for $10,000. I said, there, if you need it, use it. And I left. You know, there wasn't any money in that bank account. There wasn't. They didn't have any money in it. I'm telling you the God's truth. I didn't even know I had a checkbook. Like I don't carry checkbooks. I never write a check. I don't go to the bank. Somebody else does that for me. I don't like banks. I don't like going to the bank. But at any rate, I went back one day and he gave me the check back. He said I didn't have to use it. But you know, the second I give it to him like that, his attitude changed. Everything was fine. I said, Jesus, good telling you didn't have to use it, Don. There's no money in that bank. That's a true story. But the change in his attitude was phenomenal. Why was he worrying? He was worrying over something that hadn't even happened. Wasn't even going to happen. But we look and we don't see what we need and we don't know where it's coming from. There's all kinds of unseen forces that work in your favor and you don't even know it. You're dealing with an infinite power that operates in a very orderly way. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not coming or it isn't there. So why would a person do that? Because they don't know. Now, when you build that idea, almost simultaneously with building, you've impressed it. Upon what? Upon your emotional mind. And when you impress that upon the emotional mind, what happens? Bingo. Anxiety strikes. Do you know what anxiety is? Anxiety is the expression of the fear that you're experiencing on an emotional level affecting the body. Now, we treat anxiety all kinds of different ways that probably aren't the best. We can sometimes drug them so they don't even know it. Anxiety is suppressed. People don't express this anxiety, they suppress it. The suppression turns to depression. And the depression, of course, breaks down the body. Disease, which leads to disintegration. That's why St. Clair Lewis said, we don't die, we kill ourselves. We just do it so slow. We don't understand what we're doing. Now, why would a person do that? Well, right at the top, you see the cause of the problem is ignorance. Now, what is the opposite of ignorance? Well, the opposite of ignorance is knowledge. Faith based on understanding is the key to freedom. Well, let's take a look at it. Here we are over here. We're plugging into knowledge. We develop understanding. There's only one way to develop understanding. We're involved in it right now. It's a form of study. Now, there's many forms of study, but study is absolutely essential for understanding. So if you want to understand how to build your business, if you want to understand to break out of this cage that maybe you've been living in, it requires study. I study every day for at least an hour. You'll find me out in my studio, which is behind my home, 5:30 in the morning. Why do I go there? Because I love it there. I have nice quiet music playing. I can stream videos all over the world from there. You'd love it, multi-camera, you know. Nice control room. Scott's up in the back now. He was in Manchester, England last week. He was controlling the cameras in Toronto from England. He was doing all the editing in the edit room. Because it can be done. We see somebody studied to figure out how to do that. And because I studied, I developed the understanding I could have it. I don't need to know how to do it. Scott knows how to do it. Okay? What do we want to understand? Well, the first thing we want to understand is those two symbols up there, the positive and negative. Let's understand that we have a choice. It doesn't matter what you have physically. It's what have you got mentally, because everything starts. Where does it work? Up, down. Works from up to down. Up, down, in, out. Now keep thinking. What's understanding lead to? Understanding will lead to faith. Faith is the ability, now pay attention to this. Faith is the ability to see the invisible. See the invisible. See on the screen of your mind everything that you want. That's why I told Sandy, go live in every room. Live in the rooms. Ask the agent to leave the house. You don't want any energy around you disturbing you. See the invisible. See the building you want. No compromise. What you want, you see it. See the invisible, to believe in the incredible. Do you know what's incredible? That there's a power within you to take any idea you form and begin to move it into form. Any idea. Doesn't matter what it is. Any idea and begin to move it into form. That's what Carnegie told Hill. Any idea that's held in your mind, that's emphasized, that's either feared or revered. You can go on the other side if you want to kill yourself, go ahead. Do it slow. There's nobody knows that you're really doing it, but including yourself, but or go on the other side. He said, any idea that's held in mind, that's emphasized, that's either feared or revered, will begin at once to clothe itself in the most convenient and appropriate form available. I learned this definition of faith from a guy named Clarence Smithson. I haven't seen him for, 40 years, 50. We were doing a seminar with the Prudential. I was in Indiana, in Indianapolis, and two of us were sitting in a restaurant. And this guy, Clarence, he was a piece of work. I'm telling you, he was something else. I said, Clarence, what's your definition of faith? And he told me, it's the ability to see the invisible, to believe in the incredible, and that will permit you to receive what the masses call impossible. You'll manifest in form. I don't care what it is. It doesn't make any difference what it is. It's all in here. That's where it starts. And if you haven't completed in here, if you're waiting for it to happen out there before you get it in, forget it, it ain't going to happen. You say, well, I'll win this. Don't work that way. Like a good story of Moses. He's leading the kids across the desert. And he comes up to him and says, hey, Moses, it's getting hot out here, buddy. And we don't have any water. And he says, well, ask God for some water. Ask God for water, right? He says, go and ask God. Pray, just ask God for water. They come back a little while later and they said, hey, Mo, your God's forsaken us. There's no water. He says, where's the ditches? He says, what ditches? The ditches hold the water. They didn't expect the water at all. You know what most people do when they say they're praying? They don't pray. They get down and they talk. That's making a noise on your knees. That's not praying. Sing. Prayer is the movement that takes place between spirit and form, with and through us. I had a minister one time tell me, he said, most people, praying is what most people do between prayers. I said, what? He said, praying is what most people do between prayers. Prayer is the movement that takes place between spirit and form, with and truth. You should be praying constantly. Talk to your God. Faith is the ability to see the invisible, conscious level, believe in the incredible, totally deductive, just like the earth. It'll give you back exactly what you want, and then will cause you to receive what the masters call impossible. Well-being. That's a lot better than the anxiety, isn't it? And well-being is not suppressed. Have you ever seen anybody bouncing down the street and they say, hi, how are you? They're really excited. They don't do that. It's expressed. The well-being's expressed. And it not only expresses, it accelerates. Why? Because it's growing. You're in harmony with the law. That's the way it works. This is the real deal. And that's because you're at ease. There's no tension. There's no disease. At ease. You control the flow. You let yourself relax. This is so basic, and yet it's so misunderstood. So you got a choice. You can create, or you can disintegrate. What do you want? Interesting choice. Why would most people choose that? High percentage do. Because they don't understand. But if you got a choice, I don't know. Do you know that little coin we give you? Could keep you over here. Every time you go over here, you go right back. That's a valuable little coin. What I would like you to do is just take about 5 minutes, that's all, And I want you to talk to the people at the table about what you've just learned in this lesson. Take a few minutes and talk to the people at the table.